Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Radke, Dr. Haffey, it's an honor to be here today. Thanks to Dr. Patty Laughlin and the American Democracy Project for inviting me to participate in this great civic engagement initiative. I have truly enjoyed the presentations and discussions these past 2 days. If a person is pushing for change, you can guarantee he or she will have some critics. So it may come as a surprise to my critics over 10 years ago. Yes, I graduated from college 10 years ago. It's kind of a surprise to me today. For me to stand here today talking about democracy. In 1997, a small group of UCO student government officers, including Ben Harris, Jay Schaefer, Kurt Garris, and myself, met one weekend morning to begin reforming UCO student government structure. 10 years later, this year, April 29, 2008, UCOSA will still be leading the way in Oklahoma, inspiring students into public service. It was life-changing, eye-opening, and career-boosting. Every sacrifice was worth it, including the random electricity outages and the scarce supplies of peanut butter. Every friendship made will always be remembered. While working overseas, you can definitely learn at each opportunity, and you discover much more about yourself while being stretched to your limits via candles and flashlights. The collective work of NDI's Legislative Advisor's Office in Kosovo can be characterized by 2 quotes from great public servants. President Harry Truman and later President Ronald Reagan said, "It's amazing how much we can accomplish if no one cares who gets the credit." As a Speaker's legislative advisor, I provided on-site consultations regarding day-to-day business of the Assembly and the Speaker's office. Located directly inside the Speaker's office, my colleagues and I worked to strengthen the role of the Speaker and the Assembly. This required numerous consultations with members of Parliament, including caucus leaders and committee chairpersons regarding Assembly work and processes. Through various projects and activities, NDI worked with Kosovar and international institutions, including the Office of the President, Office of the Prime Minister, the U.S. Office in Pristina, the UN Mission in Kosovo, also called UNMIC, International Civilian Office, and other Assembly partners. My work in Kosovo can be separated into 2 categories. The first was regular consultations with the Speaker and his advisors. These included briefings and debriefings before and after sessions, parliamentary sessions, and Assembly leadership meetings to anticipate and resolve issues and challenges. Essentially, we were always asking the question, if you do this, then what? I also wrote parliamentary opinions where parliamentary issues were researched and developed to anticipate challenges on the application and interpretation of the rules of procedure. For any of you legislative nerds out there, it was nirvana. One of my most rewarding experiences, albeit never actually fulfilled, were the many hours I spent with the Speaker to develop a resolution and work plan for the ad hoc committee on the official flag and emblems and anthem of Kosovo. This resolution was not used due to extreme political pressure to narrow and limit the process. My office also provided support regarding etiquette and protocol. This became very apparent when I, a Protestant, was asked by a Catholic how to address a letter to the Pope prior to the Speaker's visit to the Vatican. I looked at him and thought he was crazy, but Google did save the day. The second category of work involves some programs and activities to enhance the Speaker's office and Assembly of Kosovo. The Assembly Standards Plan was a second effort following some reform changes accomplished in June 2006 to amend the Kosovo Parliament's rules of procedure to increase Assembly session efficiency, transparency, and to increase legislative speech. Only one of 8 amendments was ratified and adopted on October 18, 2007, due to members of Parliament focusing more on status negotiations and elections in November. The Speaker's work plan was an internal program developed with NDI experts to improve the efficiency and productivity of the Speaker's office. The Parliamentary Implementation Plan for status was a discussion paper developed with input from Assembly partners to enhance transparency and the democratic process during the status settlement period. And they are still utilizing parts of that as we speak and participate here today. The implementation plan was based upon the status plan proposed by Marty Atasari, a UN Special Envoy at the Kosovo status process negotiations. By the time I left several weeks ago, we can compare the before and after support to the Speaker of the Assembly of Kosovo. By January 2008, the Assembly was publishing minutes and transcripts of parliamentary sessions. The Speaker's office was anticipating challenges and planning accordingly. Like I said earlier, anticipating the then what. The Speaker's office had developed a work plan to organize its activities, and the new Speaker, just chosen in January, has indicated that he will continue with efforts not yet implemented. Research was provided to support reforms for greater transparency and accountability. For example, Kosovo was shown to be the least transparent when it comes to voting processes in the Assembly. They have since changed that. Practical tools for parliamentary procedure were developed to facilitate the work of the Assembly on a regular basis. This was one of the greatest challenges of my work, connecting the democratic principles of accountability and transparency with the everyday work of Parliament. And one of my favorites, the Assembly is now publishing the recorded votes of all members of Parliament. This was a simple interpretation that the new Speaker made to the rules of procedure, but it took a year and a half of consultations to make it happen. My Kosovo colleagues would often look toward the United States as a great example of democracy. I would respond that just because we have practiced democracy for over 200 years does not mean we have got it right yet. I believe Sir Winston Churchill said it best in 1947 when he said, "Many forms of government have been tried and will be tried in this world of sin and woe. No one pretends that democracy is perfect or all-wise. Indeed, it has been said that democracy is the worst form of government, except all those other forms that have been tried from time to time." President Webb asked us yesterday, "What is this thing called democracy worth to you?" I will ask you a follow-up question. How much will you let democracy cost you? Everyone has 24 hours in a day. It's just a matter of personal priorities and values. This could be as simple and powerful as parents discussing community service with their children at home. It could involve leading voter registration drives. It could involve college students studying a semester overseas. It could involve engaging in a career of international development, supporting developing countries around the world. John Gardner said, "Only the citizen can bring our political and governmental institutions back to life, make them responsive and accountable, and keep them honest." For the college juniors and seniors, and sophomores and freshmen if they're here, I would recommend that you get a master's degree and then get out of your zip code, your city, your county, your state, your time zone, your country, and even your hemisphere. I believe some people expect to change the world without first changing themselves. Be around people who are not like you. Experience life you can't experience around your homogeneous home. Experience a change in yourself so you can change your community around you. Looking back, public service may have come natural to me based upon two prior generations of my family. My grandfather, my mother's father, my mother's here today, was a well-respected man in his eastern Oklahoma community. One story I first heard only at his funeral was when he planted acres of cotton on his land to raise money to purchase a new church piano. My father was a minister and pastor of a small church. From my first tentative steps to walk, I watched my mom and dad serve other people, influence lives, and be beacons of hope to people around them. It seems that my family had modeled my way. Through my experience with my Kosovo colleagues, I have realized that I do not want to go through life being normal, serving the status quo and wanting people to think I'm just a nice guy. I want someone to say, "I really like him," or "I don't like him." Either way, I have caused that person to reflect on something that could change him or her. I want to be a life changer. As I said in the beginning, people who push for change will have their critics, and that's okay. That's a small price we must pay, and the risk we take to engage people in democracy. As my Kosovar Albanian colleagues would say, Shum Shum Faleminderit. Thank you very much.